You're going through a divorce right now.
I'm done with my divorce.
You're done with a divorce right now.
I heard divorces could take a very long time.
No contest divorce, like 2 weeks.
Really?
You just sign the papers and send them to a judge, and they look at it and they give you a judgment, and you're done, yeah.
And you had a prenup?
No.
How
it was
is
a short marriage. It was like less than 5 years.
So what does that mean if it's a short marriage versus a long marriage?
Longer marriage, there's going to be a stronger case to be made for alimony, but it also depends on if the earning potentials of your partner was hurt, so if they stopped working, or if you've got children or shared assets or anything like that. Yeah.
You were in an open marriage, which means each partner can sleep with other people and have these like kind of micro relationships with other people. A lot of people were speculating that it would eventually fail. What is your response to those people that say, what did you think was going to happen?
I mean, most relationships fail. I had 4 monogamous ones before this open one, and they all failed.
That is true.
Most relationships fail.
I guess the difference was that you weren't married to those.
I was married to my high school girlfriend. Yeah.
Okay.
That was, yeah.
Got me.
So,
I mean, most relationships fail.
Yeah.
The next relationship, I mean, I can make a prediction. The next relationship will definitely be an open relationship because it's probably the only style I would do. And that one will probably fail as well. I mean, just statistically speaking, like, yeah, it'll probably happen.
Were there signs that it was going in this direction ahead of time?
Yeah, for sure. But there were just things I had to learn about myself that
what'd you have to learn about yourself?
I think because of the way that I grew up, I'm very much I have to do everything, and I'm like very, very, very independent. And I always thought that was a really good character trait. And I think it is for like business stuff, but I think for relationships, I think it's really bad because you tend to take, rather than ever assigning any responsibility or blame to my partner, I would just assume that I need to figure out everything for myself. And then I'm also like very not reliant on my partner for anything, which I also thought was like a benefit, but it's not. It just makes the other person feel like unwanted or unneeded.
Go into that a little bit more because I don't want to say I'm similar, but I'm very much the same way where if something happens, deep down, I look to myself and I'm like, how could I have handled that different? Because you can't dictate what another person's going to respond with or do. And I look at that and like, how can I improve myself? Where did I go wrong?
Yeah.
And I like to think of myself as like very independent, and I don't want to like throw too much on my partner.
So I think the issue here is every single piece of advice I'm about to give, a lot of the people that say this are actually the most energy vampiric subhuman piece of shit bucks in the world. So it's hard. It's like that whenever you see somebody tweet like, oh, like everybody around me always needs so much and I wish somebody would just like take care of me for once. 99% of the time, that's an energy fucking vampire, okay? Who actually is the most like energy consuming, sucking person that doesn't help anybody else out except for when it can benefit them, blah, 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 blah. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Maybe I am that person. Basically, I would get into conflict where it felt like my partner was able to justify every bad action they did on my prior bad actions. And I had done bad things. Like, I'm not perfect. I do fuck up. I make mistakes. But every time they made a mistake, it was because of mistakes that I'd made. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, fuck. Like, well, what can I do to change this in the future? Like, can I do this, or can I change this, or can I do that? And every time there was a fault that was my fault, it's my fault, and I'll do what I can for it. And then I'll see what behaviors I can change. But I never could like tell my partner like, hey, can you not do this, or can you make this change, or can you stop this behavior? Because then it was like the end of the world. So, but I set that dynamic up because I'd gone through the whole relationship never being able to make any asks for anything in terms of behavior from the other person, and it kind of was not good, I think. Yeah.
Got it. So in a new relationship, you're gonna be more outspoken?
Yeah, I just have a hard time asking for things from people. I kind of just like meme and joke, even professionally sometimes. I've gotten better at it recently, in the past like 2 years especially, but I'll kind of like, if somebody's making me uncomfortable, I'll usually just like meme or joke it off, or it's whatever, until they reach a breaking point, and then I cut them out of my life completely. And for a lot of people, that's really confusing because they're like, okay, well, hold on, how did I just get cut out completely? I didn't know I was even bothering you. And it's like, well, and then I'll say something like, well, come on, you should have known, this is obvious. But then when I think about it, it's actually not obvious because I laugh and meme everything off, so it's like people don't actually know.
Did this come out of the blue for you?
No, I don't think so. No.
Is there anything you would have done differently leading up to the situation that happened?
Like getting divorced, or?
No, I'm talking about maybe you could have done something prior to then that maybe would have had a different outcome, or you could have saved something.
I think my general behavior in the relationship of not like putting like very, not being able to make asks for things or accepting or tolerating certain types of behavior, that are probably not okay, I guess. So like having like I need somebody that shares my values in terms of what's important and what's not important in a relationship, I guess. Yeah. And if somebody doesn't share those same values, so for instance, like trashing your partner to another person, to another friend, that's something that I traditionally would never do that. And I need somebody that like is aligned on that. And if I let somebody else do that and I'm like, well, they view things differently than I do, whatever, that's probably not a good thing, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
You seem to be very matter of fact about it. How did it affect you personally or emotionally going through something like this? Was it really challenging? Because it's kind of weird hearing you talk about it in such a, I would say, nonchalant way.
Yeah, my emotional baseline is just really, really, really high. So as long as I'm not like, my life isn't fucked, if I go to sleep, I wake up, I'm usually a little bit better, every day. And I just kind of, keep going.
Do you ever wish you had more emotional variance?
I don't think so, maybe. I'm not sure. I've talked to a few people, Dr. K, a couple other people about that. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I missed some things in life because my emotional variance maybe isn't that high, but I don't think so. I think I'm doing fine.
Because being super sad can be a really pleasant experience, oddly enough, because you can find the beauty in the sadness.
Maybe. I mean,
it's all part of the experience.
Fuck that. No, I don't think
You don't think so at all?
Fuck that. No, it doesn't sound like fun to me.
Interesting. Like watching a sad movie.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I would say that's kind of like a proxy for what I'm saying.
Okay, then I do sadness by proxy. Then okay.
Interesting. Well, I respect the emotional baseline. Do you think that most people have more control over their emotions than what they think?
Probably not. Most people probably have less control over their emotions than they think. That's true for me. I think there are times where I'll just be a fucking dick, and I'm just being not a fun person to be around. And then I'll like eat a meal, and after I eat, I'm like, oh shit, I think I was hungry for like the past 6 hours because I feel so much better now. I'll go back to my chat and unban like 6 people that I banned because I was just like in a fucking whatever mood. So yeah, I think that most people's moods or vibes are impacting their emotional state more than they realize sometimes.
The chemical reactions going on in their brain
whatever's happening there.
That's really interesting. I'm more of a proponent of like, I think people can force feeling whatever way nearly at every given situation. Obviously there are certain random statistical anomaly, like bad stuff will happen and you'll feel sad. But I think for the most part, like if you feel yourself being very impatient with something, you just have to like have an instant of gratitude and you can force yourself feeling more positive about it.
I don't 100% disagree. I would qualify it a little bit. Like you can have like feelings and then responses to those feelings. And if you enact like certain behaviors or if you try to have like certain thoughts in response to feelings, you can slowly change the feelings. I think like that. Yeah, there's like a feedback loop there that if any time you feel this way about a particular person or thing, you just think like, okay, maybe this isn't the best way. I need to view this a little bit differently. If you do that, that process, I think over time can change your thoughts. Yeah.
Was there any financial impact of having a divorce?
No, just good. I just have to worry about myself now, I would say. Yeah.
Interesting. So it wasn't like expensive. You didn't have to pay out anything.
I think I paid like $2,000 for an attorney and all the filing fees or whatever. Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
It was a no contest divorce. I mean, it's super cheap. Yeah.
You hear a lot of people say, oh, you're going to lose half.
Yeah. Most people are fucking retarded. Why would you should never lose. Losing half implies there's a whole bunch of, first of all, only 10% of marriages, the end of them even involve alimony. Division of assets is probably a good thing. You should be dividing assets. You probably should be losing half because you're losing half your partnership that you used to acquire those assets, right? If you're a man and you work and the only reason you were able to afford that house because a wife stayed home and took care of kids, then yeah, of course she should be entitled to something. Like she sacrificed her entire career and enabled you and empowered you to go and work that job. I mean, I think you should, yeah.
Do you regret having your relationship so public?
No, everything in my life is public.
And would you get married again?
I don't know. I'm not like a big marriage guy. We got married because she needed the green card to live in the U.S. because I don't want to have a long distance relationship. That sucks.
Right.
So yeah, but I'm not like a huge marriage dude, and hopefully I don't have any more European brides. So
And you think the next relationships that you get into will be open?
Almost for sure. Yeah.
Almost for sure.
Yeah.
I still can't help believe what I mentioned the first time you came on the show, which was I feel like the standards for levels of attraction and love and intimacy are just lower for the people that have open relationships. Because I can't imagine myself. I haven't been this way my entire life. I don't plan on being this way for the rest of my life where, I find somebody and I'm happy to share this person with a bunch of other people. Like I feel like I just kind of want them for myself and I want them to want me for themselves.
Okay.
What do you think about this?
Sounds
the
super boring. I don't even think about like I want this person to want me for themselves. It's like not like when I'm with somebody, I'm never thinking like intimately like, God, I'm so happy that she just wants me and not anybody else. Right, it's just not like a thing that's ever in my head, I guess.
But the reason you're not even feeling that in the first place, it's like these deep emotional feelings about somebody else. That's what I'm saying. There's like a deeper level of intimacy or connection.
What does that have to do with whether or not they're with somebody else when they're not with you?
I think what Jack's trying to say is if you had like maybe a deeper connection or a deeper...
I'm saying like I think that the connections are slightly more shallow in open relationships because of what is okay for it to happen in a relationship.
Okay. I mean, I could just say I think the connections in monogamous relationships are way more shallow because if that person is with anybody else, all of a sudden everything you feel about that person is like now held at risk. I don't think I need necessarily any shallow or less shallow. I think just different people have different approaches to relationships, I guess. I don't know. Do you love your child less if you have a second one?
I don't think that that's necessarily the same thing.
I didn't say it's the same thing. I'm just saying that like when I'm with somebody, if I really love somebody, there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about for why I love this person. It might be the way that we spend time together. It might be some level of like physical attraction. It might be some level of like sexual and romantic chemistry. It might be like their sense of humor, their ambition. It might be like personality traits. It might be hobbies or things we do together. But it's never my life. Is it like, I'm so happy that they're not going to be with somebody else when we stop hanging out. That's just not like a thing that I think about much. And if we were just together and we weren't hanging with anyone else, I don't know why that would make me like them anymore, or I would care anymore about that.
Right. I would say it's more so like the sacrifice that each person makes to the other person.
Why would I want them to sacrifice that?
Because I think it's a part of the relationship.
That sounds horrible. Why would I like? What if I found out that my partner every morning for 30 minutes like stuck like needles into their nipples and like every day like, God, I'm so happy you did that sacrifice. Like, why would I want them to sacrifice? I don't know. What is it? I don't think sacrifice is good in and of itself.
I think it's the idea of putting someone else above yourself. So I think in most relationships, they'll say you'll both make sacrifices to be in that relationship, and if you give a little, you take a little. It shows that you value the other person.
Yeah, but the goal should always be to minimize the sacrifice. I don't want my partner sacrificing more than they need to, right? Like if I'm sick, I'd want them to take care of me, but I don't want them to like clean up like all my shit around my apartment because I'm a child and I can't do anything for me, right? Like whatever sacrifice we're making should be in service of something that we feel is important. If you think monogamy is important or sexual exclusivity is important, then the sacrifice is, yeah, I think good or respectable. But if you don't care about that, then why, I don't know, I wouldn't. Like sacrifice isn't good just because it's sacrifice, right? Like I could go right now into traffic and sacrifice myself and die, and you'd be like, what the fuck did you do that for? It's like, shouldn't you be grateful? I sacrificed for your podcast. I sacrificed myself for the podcast. And it's like, well, you didn't actually help with anything. You didn't do anything. Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose for me, I just think like if I'm in a relationship with someone, I want them constantly choosing me over anybody else. So technically that would be an open marriage, but they're just not executing on the openness of the marriage, you know?
I think any relationship is technically open because you could just go and leave if you really wanted to.
That's like,
but then you end the relationship.
Cheat, everything is an open relationship. Yeah.
But then you end at the sacrifice of ending the relationship.
Sure. I think there's some level of people wanting to feel like they're the number one choice in every regard for their partner. They might want to have that feeling. So the exclusivity is really important because it reinforces that. Yeah.